The following program contains scenes of nudity and mature subject matter intended for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Tonight on 16 by 9.
It's a disturbing new documentary about teenage sexuality that every parent should know about. It's called Oral Sex is the New Goodnight Kiss.
Oral sex to me really isn't that big of a deal.
They're doing it at school, in the school bathrooms. They believe it doesn't have any consequences.
Good evening and welcome to 16 by 9, The Bigger Picture. I'm Mary Garafello. It is a frightening look into the world of teenage sexuality today. A new book and documentary with a shocking title, Oral Sex is the New Goodnight Kiss. And if you're a parent, you don't want to miss this story. A warning, though, some of the information you're about to hear is very graphic, and you may want younger children to leave the room.
Oral sex party is a bunch of people just giving each other oral sex.
Oral sex to me really isn't that big of a deal.
You know, I've had threesomes and stuff like that.
They are shocking words from little girls, some as young as 11 years old. Secret lives exposed, lives even their parents know nothing about. What you're watching is part of a documentary by Canadian journalist Charlene Azam. It's called Oral Sex is the New Goodnight Kiss.
I think people are shocked. They're shocked to see what girls are doing. They're shocked that the girls are so young. They're 11 and 12 and that they're already having oral sex. That they're not just having oral sex, but that they're doing it at school, in the school bathrooms.
What Charlene reveals is a frightening reality where teenage girls are having sex and going to sex parties, dubbed rainbow parties, because of the color of the lipstick ring left around the penis. The message is painful. Many of today's teens don't view oral sex as sex.
Oral sex has become an acceptable behavior for young girls because they believe it doesn't have any consequences. Don't get pregnant, wait to have sex. These are the messages that they're getting, but nobody said anything about oral sex.
Charlene spent 4 years gaining the trust of these young girls from across Canada. She filmed them partying and revealing their most intimate moments. Who are they, you ask? Well, they come from good families who agreed to do this as a wake-up call to all families.
I had like 500 people come to my house, and like I ended up having sex with like more than one person that night, and then in the morning I was trying to get some morning after pills when I was like 14 at the time. My dad came home and was pissed off that I'd thrown this party, so wanted me to stay in the house, and so I had to tell him, you know, I need to go and get these pills. And he found out how many people I'd had sex with and just freaked out. Wouldn't talk to me about it, but just wanted to sue the guys, wanted to put them in jail, rather than looking at, you know, why I would allow men to touch me in that way.
And where does all this promiscuity lead to? Well, Charlene says prostitution, but not the kind where a girl stands on a street corner, but rather where they exchange sexual favors for clothes, money, and even homework.
Yeah, I got lots of offers, you know, take off your shirt, I'll give you $20, or, you know, do a striptease up on the table, I'll give you $100. Take off your pants, I'll throw you another couple 20s. So kind of worked out like that, and you know, we were all drunk already, so we really didn't know right from wrong in the first place. When we go hang out at parties, yeah, the guys would be crazy, and most guys now are sex oriented, so that's all they care about, that's all they want are the girls, and especially young girls because they're so vulnerable.
They don't even call it prostitution. In many cases, the girls were deeply offended that I referred to what they were doing as prostitution, even though there was money involved, even though they were trading for drugs, even though it was clear to them that they were only involved with this man because he was buying them something. So they're not ready to admit what they're doing. In fact, for a lot of them, it's a win-win.
We took the documentary to a group of Canadian teens to see what they had to say.
I don't think teens today think oral sex is a big deal because to them they're not losing their virginity.
Really?
That's what people think today.
So if you have oral sex, you're still considered a virgin?
That's how everybody portrays it today.
It's more like a lack of knowledge. Like in sex ed in elementary school, it's more so like you're only going to get an STD if you have sex. So oral sex, it's not as scary because you're not going to get an STD, which is completely wrong. You still can.
But they don't teach you that in school.
And the same as like prostitution, you're always taught that it's like a woman on the street, random males. You're never taught that it's somebody you might know. So it's okay because I know him, he's a friend, he's going to give me money. It's mutual agreement, but it's not.
And Anthony, again, just from a male's perspective, from a boy's perspective, is it expected? I mean, now, before when you used to go on a date, you would expect a goodnight kiss, but is more expected now when you go on a date?
Oh yeah, a lot more. A lot more. Not necessarily me, but a lot of people that I know, it's expected that if you're going to take a girl out for like dinner or go to a movie or something, sex, even oral sex, it's going to come, it's going to happen because they want it to happen and it's expected to happen.
Dr. Sue McIntyre is a teen sex expert out of Calgary. She says teenage promiscuity is an epidemic and every parent should be aware of it.
I think there's a lot of pressure on youth to begin to look at entering into sexual activity much earlier in life than historically. And I think that's where it becomes kind of this divide where young people don't see a blowjob as a form of sexual behavior. They see it as something separate.
One of my friends would ask me, oh, well, this guy wants to do something, right? And we'll give you this much money for it, right?
Lots of times parents, don't necessarily notice the signs quickly. For instance, all of a sudden, youth will have a number of cell phones, they'll have excess cash, they'll be kind of disappearing for bits and periods of time. It's not traditional sexual exploitation like it used to be where that person was on the street corner. It's happening in a number of different ways at this point in time, and we need to make sure that people understand that and what some of those signs are.
Charlene says it is the porn industry that has had a big effect on today's teenage sexuality.
I think the porn industry, the porn industry is the biggest and the fastest growing in the world, and the only way you can mitigate its influence on your daughter is by actually being very involved in her life. And I think parents need to be more involved. That you need to parent more these days, and you have to start earlier. And so you never want to go down this path. This is the most devastating path that your family can go down.
Next on 16 by 9.
When you're trying to sleep after a long night, and that ringing just sends you like insane.
If you have a story for 16 by 9, call our tip line